Incumbent Senator Ron Johnson has won. We can effectively call it now. We had been waiting for a bit. We always do before we project that the Republican or anybody has won in a race. He has defeated Democratic Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. Now remember, Mandela Barnes got that late visit from President Obama, and this was squeaky tight, and it continues to be. But I gotta say, when Jason Chaffetz is right, Jason Chaffetz is right. And so that check mark on the right for Ron Johnson, they're a point apart, and you say, yeah, this is how he rolls.
This is how he rolls. 27,000 votes, and he will be celebrating. He's taking the family to Chuck E. Cheese tonight, I guarantee you.
Excellent. Excellent.
You know what? I'm going to ask him about that the next time I have him on.
Oh, yeah.
He'll bring me a slice.
That's
All
the
right.
place to go.
So we're projecting that the winner of that race in Wisconsin is Senator Johnson. Real quickly, because you were just talking about how important the Senate is.
Yeah, I will say, Jason Chaffetz, you speak things and they come into existence, so we need you to be like an announcer for the party here. That being said, yes, so that means that we've gotten 2 of the 3 outstanding. Let's put Georgia over here. We know that's a runoff. Gotten 2 out of the 3, or gotten 1 out of the 3, I should say. Pick up 1 more. Arizona, you could pick up. Nevada is looking close. And it could all come down to Georgia if you don't get both.
I really think the best chance is Nevada, because Laxalt is a no name in Nevada. He's a wonderful candidate. You look at that top part, the top half, less than half of the vote had been in, and Amadei, who's the current congressman, the Republican, had a 60-40 margin. I think he's going to win.
And that would be the only incumbent defeated in this election. Let that set in. Ooh. The first and only Latina senator by a Republican candidate.
Yeah. And the Hispanic vote, I'm telling you, Republicans have done exceptionally well in good pockets all across the country, from Florida to Nevada.
Yep. Can I add, it's also the quality, the choices that Republicans were making with who was running.
Yeah.
So those faces changed. It became much more diverse, much more, kind of grassroots, right? They spoke the language, different generation.
That's a great way to put it.
All of that combined. Yep. And so that we're making headway.
Yeah, and the reason I say that's a great way to put it, I mean, you can go out and you can find candidates from different lanes, but when you find people from different experiences, life experiences, that's really what counts. So 2 things. Adam Laxalt had just spoken with Kellyanne Conway before she walked onto set last hour, and he told her he thought he had it, that he's got it within a few points. And of course, he would never speak out of turn. Nobody's going to speak up and take something, but just from what he's seeing now. And this is pretty late in the counting game, unless you're Arizona. And that was the other point I was going to get to. I mean, we're still not entirely clear what went on there, but Tammy, come on, we got to be able to count votes in one day in this country.
We do. And of course, not that we certainly don't want to nationalize elections, but there can be national standards, perhaps, that we then can apply to each state. But the difference between Arizona and Nevada right now is the governor's race, right? We can't really quite tell. In Nevada, it looks good for the Republican at the top. At least they're not dragging that Senate candidate down. In Arizona, we really just don't know. Carrie Lake is suddenly not performing as the polls suggested she would, with that kind of energy she had. And as a result, it was really Lake and Blake, an important teaming of the Republicans there. Mm-hmm. So this is why the counting matters. It kind of gets to be a little scary, but I like your enthusiasm and your, prediction about what will happen here. But I do think Nevada looks good, and I think that there's still potential for Arizona, and it's good why we wait and we take a breath.
Well, that's professionally. So you've gotten to 51 there, potentially with Nevada. And then Arizona would put you in a distant 52, which was the number that
good enough to stop Biden for 2 years.
We're talking about. Emily, as I come to you, I'm thinking about Wisconsin and that late visit with Barack Obama for Mandela Barnes, and all of the things, the receipts that we saw in the late days of Mandela Barnes talking about crime. And I mean, there was just so much there that was opposite, perhaps, to what he was selling on the trail.
That's right, which I think we saw as the hallmark with a lot of these last-minute celebrity campaigning that I think, to your point about being connected with as the voter base, they hadn't been connected with the entire time. Which brings me back to Nevada. I wanted to make 2 points. The important thing about Nevada, in part, there's no state income tax, and it's a very business-friendly state. And that was a state that could not afford to have all of those huge corporations and huge casinos, the entertainment industry, fall flat during COVID. Yep. And that they had a really difficult time straddling that line. And they have absolutely risen from those ashes. They have absolutely prioritized the employees, the business owners, and more, which is why we saw people like Mark Wahlberg move his $30 million home from LA to Nevada and and to launch his studio there. Secondly, the indigenous population and others made points specifically that the GOP candidates had reached out to them and the Democrats never did. They said we were expected to vote a certain way. No one even looked at us. And yet here they were asked how they feel about things and told that their vote and their humanity, their preferences mattered.
Really quick point, I did talk to Laxalt, and if he pulls this off, he went, FoxNews.com followed him 1,100 miles through the state. Every
That's
county
incredible.
went to towns with 100 people, 200 people. He did not write off rural voters. He remembered the forgotten voter.
There you go.
Excellent.
Exactly.
All right, more Outnumbered in just a moment.